Hello everybody, I am back once again with my WrestleMania 32 review. I was actually going to do a video before WrestleMania 32 and discuss some issues I have with the WWE, but I guess this WrestleMania kind of sums up my issues. I don't think that the WWE's ever had a better roster in terms of workers. I also feel like they've never really been more out of touch with what their fans want, which is amazing considering how good NXT is and how well it's been doing considering its limited exposure. Sorry, I keep burping. Yet Raw and SmackDown just so lacking in energy, just pushing the wrong guys, pushing them the wrong way, but just being really out of touch with their audience. Overall with this show though, while I did get the impression they were really out of touch with their audience and they were, having the wrong guys win the matches. The wrestling was good. It could have been better in some spots, but it was pretty much in line with my expectations for the show. So there was nothing offensively bad, and it was a good WrestleMania, but it wasn't great, and it had the potential to be great. But I'll go through the matches and talk about them. We had the Intercontinental title ladder match with Kevin Owens defending his title against Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, Sin Cara, Stardust, The Miz, and Zack Ryder. This match was, every year they're fun. They do the typical ladder spots where they, drape it across the apron and someone goes through it, and etc., etc. So it was in line with what we have seen previously. I don't want to see them get to a point where they're going overboard with trying to top what they do every year. There is always a danger of that happening. So, but I mean, I feel like every year they're consistent. Having said that, though, I do feel like that at times it doesn't really captivate me as much as it used to, because I have seen all of it before. And there was nothing in this one that really stood out to me as making it better or more exciting than any other ones, except for maybe Zack Ryder winning the Intercontinental title, which was, I didn't see it coming, but I was happy for him. I was like, oh, good for you. But yeah, didn't expect it, and probably not the best booking decision, because I can't really see where he's going to go from here. But who knows? Maybe they have plans for him. I'd give that 3 3/4 stars. Next match was Chris Jericho versus AJ Styles. I was really looking forward to this match because they're both really good workers, and they gave it a lot of time to kind of have the match. It was a really good back and forth kind of match. Really showcased how good AJ Styles and Chris Jericho work together. And while I didn't really agree with the finish, which was Chris Jericho winning the match, I kind of thought they did it in a good way. So you had AJ Styles, who really had Chris Jericho on the ropes for a lot of the match, nearly beat him many times, had already beaten him before, so he knew he could. And then when he went for the phenomenal forearm, Chris Jericho hit the code breaker, got the pin, but it felt like a fluke the way he kind of just gotten it out of nowhere, wasn't expected. Yeah, the match was really solid though, really solid work. Very good as per usual from both guys. So I'd give that match 4 stars. Next we had the League of Nations versus the New Day. Oh Jesus, where'd that come from? The match itself was pretty average. I think the most entertaining thing about the match, it's always the New Day, was the entrances, actually. Well, for the New Day, once again. Yeah, there was nothing really remarkable about the match itself. Pretty much your typical 6-man tag match, really. And, the New Day, once again, were really good. The League of Nations, for me, though, just doesn't gel as a stable. They're just a bunch of guys who, their common thing is they're from different countries, besides from America. I think I'd give it 2 stars. The best part of it was, though, when it ended, and you did have Shawn Michaels and Mick Foley and Steve Austin come out and beat them down, and Steve Austin had his beer bash. But, it kind of felt like their appearances were wasted, just having them come out to that in that capacity. But often I do feel that way with WrestleMania. They try to cram as many guys into it as possible, and I'm not just talking about Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, and Mick Foley, but New Day and the League of Nations. They're just kind of thrown in there, which is a real shame because you look at the talent in there, and they could have been put to better use, but it happens. 2 stars for the match once again. Next we had the match I was looking forward to the most: Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose in a no-holds-barred street fight. I thought this match was good. I didn't think it was great. I thought it could have been great. And I do like my, death matches. So, the use of chairs and kendo sticks kind of really doesn't faze me. I feel like it could have been taken to another level, and it nearly did with the barbed wire baseball bat. The bumps were, were good. And I don't want them to kill themselves for the match, but I just never felt like it got too out of control. And I never really believed that Dean Ambrose was going to beat Brock Lesnar. But that's the thing with Dean Ambrose. He's been booked a certain way for too long, and he does need to, at some point, get a win because he's always losing against top-level guys. And if they want him to be a top-level guy, he has to get a win eventually. I'd give the match 3.5 stars because it was quite good, regardless of the outcome and how I felt during it. That it could have gone a bit further with the violence and such. Next we had the WWE Women's title match, and I'm really happy they actually renamed it, or kind of rebranded the title as the Women's title as opposed to the Divas title. I always felt it was a bit funny. But the Women's Championship, that's good, and they didn't refer to the women as divas, or they might have, but I did notice they were calling them superstars like they would call the male athletes they have. The match itself was really good. It was not quite on par with some of the NXT women title matches, but it was on par with it. It was consistent with what they had been building with previous matches amongst the three. So Ric Flair being involved, all that kind of stuff. And part of my problem with Charlotte is she's relying too much on Ric Flair. I do feel like she needs to step out of his shadow. I mean, everyone's always going to see her as Ric Flair's daughter, but she does kind of need to get away from him a bit. I feel like for the sake of her long-term career. Because people aren't going to accept her as Ric Flair's daughter forever. I mean, actually, well, they might. Who knows? But yeah, I would have liked to have seen Becky Lynch win the match, but that's just my personal preference. They were all really good, and I guess it leaves it, the way it finished with Ric Flair holding Sasha Banks back when Becky Lynch was in the figure 8, kind of can lead to a rematch. I guess with Sasha Banks and Charlotte, but regardless, all three of them did really well. I'd give that match 4 stars. It was non-stop action. Sometimes I felt like the pace was a bit too much, but it was still good. Next we had the Undertaker versus Shane McMahon in a Hell in a Cell match. Hell in a Cell. With the stipulation being if Shane wins, he gets control of Raw, and if Undertaker loses, he can't wrestle in WrestleMania anymore. I should have really given away how the match was going to go. I still had a bit of hope that Shane would win, though. As much as I enjoy seeing Undertaker at WrestleMania every year, I do feel like he's getting to an age where he can't really perform to the level he really needs to perform at. As soon as I saw Shane bring his kids out, I thought, oh, that's a big mistake, because I knew he was going to do something stupid. I knew there was a high chance he was going to do something off the cell, and he did. You've probably heard by now, or seen it yourself, that he jumped off the top of the cell through the announce table to try to hit Undertaker. Of course, he moved. In terms of the actual work of the match itself, it was really hard to buy Shane's offense for me, because he doesn't have a finishing move or anything like that. It's kind of just, a lot of it fell really flat. And the how do I put it? And because of that, you know, it just felt like he was just trying to survive against The Undertaker. And I guess that was part of the story. He was trying to survive against The Undertaker for a certain amount of time, and then he would have a chance. But even after that time elapsed, he still didn't have a chance. And the match pace got so slow. Like, it was so much selling just in between spots. And I mean, this is before it even got to the big dives or, you know, people going through announce tables. They were just like laying there. Like, come on, the match is fucking, you know, you're only 15 minutes in and you're just laying there sweating excessively. So yeah, I did expect a bit more. I was surprised there weren't more runnings, but at least there was a clean finish, and I do like clean finishes. And yeah, the Undertaker won. I mean, really though, it could have been the catalyst for some change in the WWE, which is something they really desperately need. And they could have used Shane McMahon winning winning the match and winning Raw to rebrand Raw, kind of give it some new life, do something with it that isn't, you know, what it has been for the past 20 years now, nearly 20 years, which is a format that really hasn't changed since the Attitude Era and is just lacking so much energy. But they didn't, so I guess we will continue to get what we have been getting. Yeah, I'll give that match 3 stars. Next matchup was the 20-man Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. We had a surprise in here. We had Shaq. And yeah, so he was in the match for a little bit. Aside from that, it was a pretty standard Battle Royal. 2 stars. Baron Corbin won. Why? I don't know. I guess I want to push him eventually, but it's just... There's other guys they could have had win that from NXT that they could have pushed, but, you know, whatever. Baron Corbin, he'll do. Next, we had The Rock come out and do his little promo. He set his name on fire on some metal letters, and then he moved into the ring and he said, you know, tonight we're going to make history. We're going to do something that, we're going to do something that hasn't been done before. And, you know, he was just talking about the record-setting attendance. I was really hoping he was going to change the main event, but he didn't. He had a match with Eric Rowan that went for, 6 seconds. They announced it. I think it was the shortest WrestleMania match. John Cena came out and they brawled with Bray Wyatt and such, and, you know, I wasn't really impressed. But, I mean, you know, I kind of expect something like this to happen. So, yeah, it just kind of fell a bit flat for me, but the crowd seemed to enjoy it. So, yeah, I'll move on to the main event. Roman Reigns versus Triple H for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I wasn't looking forward to this match at all. I don't really want to see Roman Reigns on top, and I guess it's like, 10 years since John Cena beat Triple H at WrestleMania, so it's kind of fitting that Roman Reigns is beating Triple H at WrestleMania, and he's going to be the new top guy for potentially a decade. I'd like that to not be the case, but that's the way it's looking. Triple H had a pretty awesome entrance with Stephanie McMahon, basically just dressed like, she's from a post-apocalyptic, war zone or something in a graveyard, just screaming at a crowd, calling them scum and putting over her husband, and then he comes out and, it was pretty good. And Roman Reigns had his thing where he punched the thing and the thing fell, punched the screen and looked like the floor fell away and the fireworks went off, and that was cool. The match itself was fell pretty flat for me. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. I think part of it was because the crowd was so dead for it. There was nothing wrong with the work, and the story they told was pretty good. Triple H going after Roman Reigns' arm. Just really stock standard stuff, though. Not really that impressive. Could have been, so much more than it was. But at least it got a relatively clean finish. So that's always good. And I do appreciate when they do clean finishes at the biggest show of the year. It's just the outcomes I always find really questionable. So yeah, that's my review. Overall, I think I would give WrestleMania 7.5. Oh, did I give that match? I'd give that match 3 stars, and I'd give the overall show 7.5 out of 10, which is good, but not great. Thank you. Goodbye.